Hi, this is another in our series of stories about careers in ergonomics and human factors. It's a great human-centered science that researches people's capabilities and limitations, and then we use that information in practice through design of tasks that people carry out, the products and equipment that they use, and the design of their workplaces and their environment. There are many ways to start out, and there's lots of ways to practice, so we're hearing direct from our members about how they started and where they hope to go. So today I'm delighted to be joined by Lillian Antonio, a consultant who's going to tell us her story. Hi Lillian.
Hi Tina.
So let's start at the beginning. So tell us about how you found human factors and sort of where it led you to in the early days.
Well, if I'm completely honest, I stumbled across ergonomics completely by accident. It's sort of the perfect combination when I was looking at degree courses of the A-levels that I took. So I did maths, biology, psychology at A-level, and I've also got a real interest in design. So when I came across it being at Loughborough University as well, I just went for it.
Okay, was that your local university then, or did you go there because it was, something special?
No, it's not a local. I'm based in the southwest, so it's not a local university, but it was somewhere that I had visited beforehand. And yeah, I really just admired the university at the time.
Great. So what format did your degree course take then? Did you have a year out? Did you get some early experience?
Yeah, so I did a 4-year course, so with a placement in the middle of it, where I worked for Lloyd's Register Rail. I was quite lucky to get that placement, and they split it between 2 sides. So I did 6 months on the rail side and then 6 months on the marine side. So looking at the Lloyd's Register shipping rules and the human factors that integrated into those. And I also presented my findings at the end of my placement year with another colleague, Dr. Jonathan Earthy. So it was a great opportunity over those 12 months to get a real sort of varied look at, human factors in action, really. Yeah,
absolutely. So you've learned a bit at university for a couple of years, you go out and practice and then have the great experience of presenting, and then you're back again to consolidate it all and take your final year.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think having a placement year really, like you said, sort of helped with that, really helped cement the knowledge. And then going back in the final year, you apply yourself in a slightly different way, I think. So yeah, it was definitely a great experience.
Yeah, good tip and good point, I think, about applying yourself. You definitely come back to it, I think, with a slightly different mindset about it, having that practice behind you. So what did you do then? What was your first job? Tell us about that.
So my first job was with HuTech Ergonomics. So as a junior consultant, I worked for them for around 3 years, doing different levels of consulting. So workplace ergonomics was my main area. So doing a lot of office ergonomics, but also my most memorable project, I guess, was working with crane drivers in Southampton. So we had to do some cab driver assessments. And if you can imagine that a container crane is at 18 foot up in the sky, and you have to climb up a very small, narrow ladder up 18 foot. There's no harnesses or hooks or anything, and you climb up to do your driver assessment. It was a great project to work on, but very scary when you're afraid of heights.
I bet. I can't imagine that. Wow. So tell it, what other projects were you involved in then at that time as well?
So yeah, at HuTech, like I said, a lot of workplace ergonomics, office workplace. One major project I worked on was with Goldman Sachs, the investment bank. So we did a big project with them over around 2 years actually, and it was a big project that I ended up actually moving to London to help run. So it was really consolidating their online system, providing ergonomics training, but also doing the assessment side, working with their occupational health team and doctors that they have there to provide that service for the company. So that was what I sort of did full time for 18 months.
Wow, that's really interesting. So it was a big enough project to get you to move somewhere. That's amazing in itself. But really great experience there of working with others in a team that may not necessarily have heard about human factors or know the contribution that it can make. So that's an important sort of point there as well. I think that when we're in this career, we very often we need to work with other people to get their viewpoints, and that's part of it. But was that an easy sort of project to take on in terms of working with other people? How did that work in practice?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was still relatively young when we first did this, and it was interesting. I mean, it was the big wide world of being in London, working with an investment bank as a particular personality type, and but working with the others within the team. I mean, the team crossed over from facilities managers, health and safety, like I said, occupational health. I think that was actually a really interesting and helped to broaden my my scope a little bit, I guess, as well, from just working as a sort of individual consultant with maybe only a couple of colleagues. So it was definitely great to be part of the wider team.
Yeah, absolutely. So then what happened after that? You left that consultancy, you moved on to something else?
Yeah, so following that, I moved to Herman Miller, which is a global office furniture manufacturer. So I worked for them for a long time, actually. I worked for them for 9 years.
Okay.
And again, I was involved in lots of different projects across the sort of research and insights team, working very closely with my colleagues over in the US. But I mean, one of my biggest takeaways, I guess, from working for Herman Miller was the different opportunities I had to travel. So working very closely with the guys over in the US, obviously, and I had the opportunity to go to conferences in Las Vegas, for example. We did an event in Singapore, where I got the opportunity to present to a really wide range of clients, Dubai, Europe. So I got a lot of opportunities to go to a lot of different places, but also experience different cultures. So that all is really interesting part of it.
Yeah, a great point again about working with different cultures and having to sort of adapt what you normally do or normally say to try and get the best out of people. Because obviously, again, with our discipline, it's all about talking to people, and it's the people that are different sometimes. The workplaces might even be very similar, but the people and how they think and how they react to things is different. That's a great bit of experience as well there, by the sound of it.
No, absolutely. And I mean, even, Herman Miller is a global organization, but, even down to the different products that people are drawn to or sort of accepting within that culture it was really fascinating to learn about as well.
Yeah, I'm sure, and all adds to that huge bank of experience that you gradually build up through a career in human factors. So then I understand you took the plunge and you opened your own consultancy. You set that up.
Did, yeah. So following working at Herman Miller, I did take a couple of months off, and I did sort of explore and think, do I want to carry on with this? What should my next sort of career step be? But I love the world of ergonomics, and I really enjoy working with people and helping people. I also have a great interest in interior design, the built environment, sort of well-being within that as well. So I was very keen to start my own consultancy, which I did last year, so just before we all got locked down in the UK here, unfortunately. But I think that's given me a different experience to what I expected, but equally it's been a great year so far.
Fantastic. And I think you made another great point earlier about just taking a little bit of time out to just see whether the next step that you think is the right one, and to just give yourself a little bit, because it is quite easy, isn't it, to jump from one thing to another and never really give yourself that little bit of just space, really. So you found that. Okay. I think perhaps rounding up now, I mean, obviously, you don't want to be, none of us want to be in lockdown forever. Where do you see your consultancy going after this? What's your next move for that then?
Well, hopefully we can see people in real life. No, like I said, I mean, it's been interesting, moving, my business plan didn't include lockdowns and doing everything virtually online. If you told me a year ago that I would be conducting, all of my training, all of my online assessment, all of my assessments online, I don't think I would have believed you. But I think it's really opened up and given us opportunity to see a wider range of people, for sure. And just given a few different opportunities, and I think it will just help to help this area of ergonomics grow. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how it goes. I think, the workplace is undergoing such a transformation, or hopefully will be going and transforming over the sort of next few years. I think the pandemic has really put the emphasis on the workplace and what we need offices for going forward.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think there are lots of challenges and opportunities out there for human factors professionals, definitely in just how work is perceived, how you carry it out, where, when, all of those questions are sort of all up for grabs, really, I think. And we've experienced now, virtually everybody who's was working in office has pretty much experienced some sort of working from home. So I think we've all experienced that now. I think lastly then, well, good luck, first of all, I should say, with the rest of your consultancy work there. Do you have any advice then for people thinking about whether to take that that step into human factors?
I mean, I guess what I would say is definitely build up your experience first and build your network. So get some really great experience. I've been quite lucky in my career that I have had, worked in different areas to really understand what I enjoy, but also worked with some great people, which really helps. I mean, that's something I've definitely realized over the past year, and actually setting up my own consultancy, is you really need your network in place. It really helps, because if you are going off and doing this on your own, it can become quite lonely sometimes. So, having people that you can call on regularly, working with you guys, Tina, as well, is really, it's really benefited me over the past year.
Yeah, great advice there, I think, as well. Yeah, absolutely. Human factors is not a massive discipline. It's not like engineering or teaching or anything. It's just a small discipline. We've been around for 70 years though, but we're still making our way in the world as a discipline, but absolutely you need your networks, and there aren't that many of us, so get involved, I think, is one of the main sort of pieces of advice. Really get involved, build those networks, and as you said, Lillian, build that experience behind you. And I think your story there is just illustrated really nicely that you can go from one thing to another. You can do smaller research projects, you can do practical things, you can work for a big organization, a small one. It's all possible, all in the same career, which is quite amazing. And then once you've built up enough sort of practice and you've got your confidence and the experience behind you, you can go it alone, and then it's a whole new new world out there.
And it's a whole new world of learning about marketing and finance and all of the other things, as well as ergonomics.
Absolutely, no end to the skill building that's going on there. Well, thank you, Lillian. Thanks very much for joining us today. It's been brilliant to hear your story. And, if you'd like a career in human factors, then you heard it here. You heard how exciting it can be. So contact the Institute if you want any more details. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.